Welcome to a cozy corner of the world, a podcast that wraps you in warmth like a cozy blanket. Each episode features a carefully crafted story, woven to ease you into sleep with its soothing rhythm. Feel at ease knowing you can drift off to sleep at any point. The stories are uncomplicated and the voices are soft, creating a peaceful backdrop for your dreams. Whether you're with us for a moment or stay for the whole episode, this podcast is your retreat. So settle in, let go of the day, and allow a cozy corner of the world to guide you to a night of peaceful slumber. Let's ease into our story. The morning sun cast a golden glow through the large, misted window of Thistle and Bloom, the small flower shop nestled in the heart of Cedarwood Lane. The quaint bell above the door chimed a welcoming note as it swung open, ushering in the first customer of the day, along with a gentle breeze that carried the scent of fresh rain and budding roses. Amelia, the proprietor of the flower shop, greeted her visitor with a warmth that matched the sun's embrace. Her hands, ever so delicate and sure, were arranging a bouquet of daisies and baby's breath, each stem placed with an artist's precision. Her copper hair was tucked neatly behind her ears, revealing the soft smile that graced her lips. "Good morning, Mrs. Baker," Amelia said, eyes twinkling. "How can I brighten your day today?" The elderly woman, adorned in her pastel cardigan and floral scarf, clasped her hands together, delight evident in her wrinkled eyes. "Oh, my dear, I'm looking for something to celebrate my granddaughter's graduation. She's done so wonderfully, you know." Amelia nodded, her own heart swelling with the shared joy of accomplishment. "Let's craft something special then. Perhaps some irises? They symbolize wisdom and compliments," she suggested, leading Mrs. Baker toward the cornucopia of colors that filled every inch of Thistle and Bloom. As they moved through the shop, their conversation flowed like a serene brook, weaving past the potted ferns and hanging baskets of petunias. The air was sweet with the mingling fragrances of jasmine and lilac, and a soft symphony of rustling leaves and distant bird songs filled the spaces between their words. Amelia's assistant, a young man named Jack with a penchant for sunflowers and an ever-present notebook in which he scribbled poems, glanced up from his work at the potting bench. He offered a friendly nod to Mrs. Baker. "Morning, Mrs. B," he said, his voice a calm baritone to the soft hum of the morning. "Hello, Jack. Always a pleasure to see you," Mrs. Baker replied, her smile a testament to the familiar and friendly atmosphere the shop provided. The greenhouse glass reflected the dance of the morning light as they perused the selections, and Amelia's graceful movements among the blooms painted a picture of serenity. It was as though the shop itself was enlivened by her presence, each flower blooming just a bit brighter under her attentive care. In the background, a radio played a soft melody, the notes floating through the air, intermingling with the subtle sounds of snipping shears and the rustling of paper as Jack meticulously prepared another order. Every detail of the shop, from the vintage watering cans repurposed as planters to the intricate pattern of the tiled floor, whispered stories of days past and promised the comfort of continuity. As Amelia selected a vibrant iris to serve as the centerpiece for Mrs. Baker's granddaughter's bouquet, her hands brushed against the velvet petals, enjoying the softness. A simple pleasure in a simple day at Thistle and Bloom. The customers entered and left with more than just bouquets. They carried with them the essence of the shop, a piece of tranquility to color their lives beyond the flower-speckled threshold. And so the day began, unhurried and gentle, in the little flower shop where time seemed to slow and the world outside grew a little softer, a little kinder, with every passing moment. Yet, as the morning progressed and more customers found their way to the warmth of thistle and bloom, Amelia noticed the soft chime of the door more frequently, heralding the entrance of a familiar face that she had not seen in quite some time. A face that always brought a special light to her day and a subtle flutter to her heart. But in the serene cocoon of her flower shop, even the unexpected was met with a quiet, blossoming hope. It was Oliver, a childhood friend who had moved away to the city years ago, his visits infrequent yet always cherished. He stepped into thistle and bloom with the same ease he always had, his presence a reminder of shared laughter and long conversations that had the power to stretch on for hours. "Amelia," he greeted, his voice a soothing balm, the corners of his eyes crinkling with affection. "It's been too long." Indeed it had. Amelia felt the years fall away as she looked into Oliver's eyes, still as bright and vibrant as the summer skies of their youth. "Oliver, welcome back. What brings you to Cedarwood Lane?" "Business and a bit of nostalgia," he admitted, his gaze taking in the flower-laden space around him. "I couldn't resist stopping by to see your amazing work up close again." Behind her, Mrs. Baker beamed at the exchange, a knowing look in her eye. She had watched Amelia and Oliver grow up together, their friendship a sturdy oak in the village's tapestry of relationships. "Can I help you find something?" Amelia offered, her usual professionalism infused with a tinge of excitement at the opportunity to catch up with an old friend. "I'm in need of a gift, something that conveys gratitude and affection," Oliver explained as he followed her deeper into the shop. "How about peonies?" Amelia suggested, showcasing a batch of the fluffy blooms, their colors ranging from delicate pinks to deep maroons. They symbolize many beautiful things, including love and honor. Oliver nodded approvingly, his eyes appreciating the blossoms before him. "Perfect. Let's go with those." As she wrapped the peonies in a soft layer of tissue and twine, embellishing the bouquet with her flair for the artistic, Mrs. Baker quietly made her purchase and left the pair to their reunion. Jack stepped forward to tend to another customer, his movements respectful of the moment unfolding between his boss and her guest. The transaction complete, Amelia handed the bouquet across the counter to Oliver. His fingers brushed hers, a contact brief but laden with memories and a connection that the years had not dulled. They shared a smile that understood the weight of a shared past and the lightness of the current moment. As other patrons milled about, some regulars offering friendly hellos to Amelia, the familiar rhythm of commerce and chatter continued unabated. The flower shop hummed with life, a steady undercurrent to the quiet rekindling between two old friends. "Let's sit for a moment," Amelia suggested, gesturing toward a cozy nook adorned with green vines and a small bistro table that often served as a resting spot for customers to immerse themselves in the shop's peaceful ambience. They settled in, the warm sunlight spilling across the table, casting shadows of the leaves against their heartfelt exchange. Though their lives had traversed different paths since their carefree days, the comfort of their conversation remained unchanged. They spoke of family, of triumphs and trials, each sharing tales that had shaped their absence. Oliver's laughter was a refrain that enlivened the air, and Amelia found her own laughter harmonizing effortlessly as they delved into recollections of their youth, the time they nearly capsized a canoe in the lake, the day they'd built the highest snowman the town had ever seen. Quiet nostalgia wove through their stories. In the world outside, life moved at its own pace, but within the confines of Thistle and Bloom, there was an understanding that some moments deserved to be savored, that time could stand still, if only to allow two hearts to reconnect and rediscover the meaning in an old friendship. Talking turned to sharing, to confessions spoken amid the fragrant embrace of roses and lilies, to secrets nestled between the soothing shades of hydrangeas and blossoming friendships renewed amidst the silent growth of ivy along the shop's stone walls. In the gentle pull of their interactions, where words flowed like the petals of cherry blossoms in the spring breeze, both Amelia and Oliver looked beyond the constructs of time. They marveled at how some things, like the affection in a long-lost glance, remained steadfast. "Remember when we buried that time capsule under the old oak tree?" Oliver asked, his voice infused with whimsy. Amelia, his eyes lit up at the memory. "Yes, we were convinced we would open it as famous adventurers, unveiling our childhood dreams to the world." The laughter that followed was soft and full of reflection, and it filled the cozy corner like a gentle melody, blending with the quiet background music that routinely spun from the shop's old record player. As if on cue, Jack, the observant assistant, moved to the record player and carefully set the needle down on a fresh vinyl. The soft sounds of an orchestra playing a classical piece began to drift through the air, lending a graceful soundtrack to their shared reflection. "Life had other plans, though," Amelia continued, her smile tinged with a touch of melancholy. "But look at us now, you, a successful architect, and me, with my own little Eden right here. And both of us here in this moment," Oliver added. It was a simple statement, but it hung between them, filled with significance. The conversation ebb and flow was as gentle as the drift of the scented air that circulated the room. Amelia and Oliver shared updates about their lives, the joys and sorrows, the dreams that had faded and the new ones that had taken root. They were like two old trees whose branches had grown in different directions, but whose roots remained entangled beneath the surface. Outside, the day continued to unfold in the village. The gentle clatter of dishes from the nearby cafe, the laughter of children released from the restraints of a classroom, and the soft rolling of tires over the cobblestone street all but vanished within the sanctuary of Thistle and Bloom. Eventually, their conversation turned to the future, to what still might be. Oliver spoke of projects that would take him across the country, of skylines yet to be altered by his vision. Amelia spoke of her plans to expand the back garden of the shop, to create an oasis of peace where people could escape, even if only for the span of a lunch hour. "And I can't help but think," Oliver said, capturing Amelia's gaze with his own earnest one, "that there are still so many chapters of our story left unwritten." Amelia felt something in her stir, a flutter like the wings of the butterflies that often found solace among her flowers. She knew the truth in his words, and the possibility that accompanied them sparked a light of excitement in her chest. The conversation that could have continued was momentarily paused as the door chimed again, the signal of another patron entering. Jack excused himself from arranging a display of potted violets to welcome the new guest, allowing Amelia and Oliver a moment to collect their thoughts. Amelia rose, feeling the gentle tug of responsibilities. She had a business to run, after all, despite the allure of getting lost in the past and the potential of the future. "I better get back to work," she said, though the reluctance was clear in her voice. Oliver stood as well, the peony bouquet a beautiful testament to their encounter. "And I should get going. I have a meeting this afternoon that I can't miss," he replied, although his stance suggested he'd rather stay. As they walked back toward the counter, their steps in sync, it was clear that while their time today was drawing to a close, the door had been opened to something more, something that neither was quite ready to define, yet felt undeniably real. Amelia's hands were firm and confident as she resumed her work, crafting an array of floral arrangements that brought beauty and solace to each recipient. Meanwhile, Oliver lingered for a moment, watching her from across the room, recognizing the familiar comfort of her presence. But as he turned to leave, he made a quiet promise to himself, one that held the potential to change the trajectory of two lives once closely intertwined. With the peonies secure in his grasp, and his heart now firmly sheltered within the walls of Amelia's flower shop, Oliver stepped out into the sunshine with a new purpose. He glanced back through the glass, catching Amelia's eye one last time before the door closed behind. There was a silent understanding there, a shared recognition that today was but a prelude to all that was yet to come. The door closed with a soft jingle, leaving Amelia amidst her verdant kingdom, the day's warmth lingering in Oliver's absence. She took a moment to watch the sway of the willow tree outside, its branches swishing like strokes on a painted canvas. In its serene dance, she found a quiet reassurance, a reminder that life's many seasons each held their own form of growth and beauty. With a deep breath, she returned her attention to her craft. Her fingers worked expertly among the stems and leaves, the fragrant array of her shop, a symphony of color and texture, waiting to be conducted. She selected an assortment of pastel blooms for an order, her mind weaving through the tranquility of her motions, each one a stroke of peace upon the day's canvas. The hours slipped by with the silent grace of sun crossing the sky. Patrons came and went, each leaving with a piece of nature's art cradled in their arms. Laughter and soft conversation filled Thistle and Bloom, the ebb and flow of community rolling through the flower shop like a gentle tide. Young couples came seeking the perfect flowers to express their budding love. Parents carried away cheerful bouquets to celebrate their children's successes, and friends bought potted plants to bring a touch of life into their homes. Amelia met each request with a patient ear and a thoughtful nod, her recommendations always seeming to strike the perfect chord. As mid-afternoon turned into early evening, the slanting sunbeams began to paint the shop's interior with a warmer hue. The colors of the petals seemed to deepen with the light's touch, and a softer glow settled upon the space. The door's chime was less frequent now, as people began to turn their thoughts homeward, and the pace of Cedarwood Lane slowed to a comfortable drawl. Jack began tidying the shop, watering plants and sweeping petals that had fallen to the tiled floor. His contemplative nature was well suited to the store's ambiance, and his calm efficiency complemented Amelia's vibrant energy well. "Busy day," he remarked, casting a glance towards Amelia as she crafted her final arrangements. "It was," Amelia agreed, a soft smile playing on her lips, "but a good one." The smell of the damp earth from potted plants mingled with the lingering scent of flowers, creating a heady, grounding perfume that cocooned the shop. The peacefulness was its own living entity, wrapping around Amelia and Jack as they readied the shop for closing. In these quiet moments, when the clamor of commerce eased and the demands of clients ebbed, Amelia found a time for reflection. It was during these times that she dreamt her brightest dreams and felt her deepest gratitude for the little world she had created within Thistle and Bloom. It was more than a business. It was a sanctuary, an enclave of beauty that transcended the act of selling and became about sharing, nurturing, and providing comfort. As the sun dipped lower, casting its final golden rays across the shop floor, Emilia placed her tools down and stepped back to admire her work. Her creations, a varied assortment of arrangements, stood ready for tomorrow's patrons, each a bouquet of potential, of celebrations not yet had, of comfort not yet given, of love not yet expressed. Jack, finishing his tasks, folded his apron neatly and placed it behind the counter. "See you tomorrow, Amelia," he said in his usual soft-spoken manner, reaching for the door. "Good night, Jack. Thanks for all your help today," she responded, her voice a harmonious blend of exhaustion and satisfaction. With a nod and a smile, Jack headed out, leaving Amelia alone with the tranquil embrace of her flower shop. She moved through the quiet, her steps slow as she turned off lights and powered down the record player, its music coming to a gentle stop. The stillness was profound, and within it, she felt herself a part of something greater, a piece of a larger pattern woven from countless threads of Liffey's rich tapestry. This was her place, her purpose, a garden of peace where souls could find respite from the whirlwind of existence. Amelia reached for the door, ready to lock up for the night, when her eyes caught sight of a single forgotten stem, a pale pink peony left over from the bouquet Oliver had commissioned. Its petals were soft and full, and she found herself hesitating, fingers brushing across the bloom's delicate surface. It was a whisper from the universe, or perhaps her own heart, a gentle nudge reminding her that each choice she made was a seed sown for tomorrow's harvest. Carefully, Amelia placed the peony in a slender vase filled with water, setting it on the counter where it would greet her in the morning. Her mind danced with thoughts of Oliver, of time capsules and shared histories, of the interlocking pieces of their lives that had somehow unexpectedly begun to find their place once more. And as she finally clicked off the last light, stepping out into the cool embrace of the Cedarwood Lane evening, her heart was full of budding anticipation for what was to come, her soul at peace within the hushed chorale of the night. The soft click of the door locking behind her resonated with a quiet finality, marking the end of another day in the life of Thistle and Bloom. Amelia stood for a moment on the cobblestone street, the evening stretching before her in a tapestry of twilight hues. Around her, the village settled into its nighttime rhythm, the comforting routine of dinner preparations and family gatherings echoing from the open windows and doorways. Taking a moment to breathe in the cool air, Amelia wrapped her cardigan tighter around her. The night carried with it the freshness that follows a day of gentle rain, a clean and earthy scent that mingled with the residual floral perfume that seemed to follow her from the shop. As she walked home, her steps light and unhurried, she passed by the familiar storefronts of Cedarwood Lane, each warmly lit and inviting. The local bookstore, its windows a beacon of soft light for the moths and the late evening readers alike, displayed its latest arrivals and age-worn classics in a cozy, haphazard harmony. Next to it, the family-owned patisserie showcased an array of delicately frosted cakes and golden pastries that filled the air with the scent of butter and sugar. The warmth from its ovens fought back the evening chill, tempting Amelia to stop and indulge in a small treat for her night's solitude. She surrendered to the temptation, the chime of the door announcing her as she stepped into the patisserie. The owners, a kindly couple who had known Amelia since she was a child running through the streets with Oliver, greeted her with the sort of easy familiarity that only years can breed. "A slice of your lemon drizzle cake, please, Mrs. Dubois." Amelia smiled, her eyes catching sight of the perfectly glazed dessert on display. "Coming right up, dear," Mrs. Dubois replied, her hands already reaching for the cake, each movement deft and assured from years of practice. Mr. Dubois, behind the counter, offered Amelia a small nod and a soft-spoken, "Evening, Amelia." With pleasantries exchanged and cake carefully boxed, Amelia continued her journey home. The soft light spilling from the patisserie windows faded as she moved through the winding streets of Cedarwood Lane, her shadow stretching and shrinking with the rhythm of the passing lanterns that lined her path. The houses she passed each told their own silent tale, some shrouded in ivy, others with gardens in full bloom, and a few with bicycles and toys scattered across the lawns, signs of life pulsing within their walls. This village, with its intertwined stories and shared histories, wrapped around her like a comfortable blanket. Finally reaching her own doorstep, Amelia paused. She looked back down the lane, her shop now a distant glow among the other twinkling lights. The peony that awaited her return tomorrow was a soft beacon of a promise of new beginnings and revived connections. Inside her home, Amelia found the comfortable silence welcoming. She traded her coat for a knitted throw and set the patisserie box on her kitchen table. Purring at her ankles, her tabby cat Jasper greeted her with the quiet dignity of a creature content in their shared existence. The evening unfolded gently. After tending to Jasper's dinner, Amelia took a moment for herself, a cup of chamomile tea steaming in her hands while she settled into her favorite armchair. The soft fabric embraced her, and she allowed the tensions of the day to melt away. As the darkness settled outside her window, transforming the world into a canvas of soft grays and deep blues, Amelia's mind turned once again to Oliver. She let herself wonder about the what-ifs and could-bests that lingered in the wake of their reunion. In this quiet space, where the only sound was the tick of the clock and the sporadic purring of Jasper, she felt the seed of something new taking root. But for now, there was contentment in the solitude, a peaceful reflection in the comforts of her own space. The final swallow of her tea was a nightcap to the day's events, the comfort of the liquid warmth, a prelude to the rest that awaited her. Amelia returned the empty cup to the kitchen before making her way to her bedroom, where the soft plush of her bedspread welcomed her tired body. As slumber tiptoed to the edges of her consciousness, pulling her gently toward dreams, Amelia found herself drifting. Abandoning the certainties of the present, she ventured into the whispering potential of the future. And there, in the tender embrace of sleep, beneath the watchful eyes of stars unseen, Amelia's heart danced to the rhythm of possibility. A dance she never knew she'd been waiting to perform. With every beat, an untold story unfolded, one that beckoned her with the delicate intrigue of petals unfurling in the morning light, their colors vibrant against the palette of a new dawn yet to break. The first tendrils of dawn crept through Amelia's curtains, their soft light brushing against her closed eyelids as if to coax her gently from the realm of dreams. Jasper, ever attuned to the rhythms of the house, nudged his nose against her cheek, his quiet mew a more insistent summons to the waking world. Yielding to the new day's call, Amelia stretched beneath her covers, the remnants of night's musings still clinging to her like dew upon the grass. Her thoughts meandered back to Thistle and Bloom, to the unexpected encounter with Oliver, and to the forgotten peony sitting alone on the countertop, a silent participant in the day to come. With a sigh of surrender to the morning, she rose and dressed in the comfort of well-worn denim and a light sweater, the promise of spring's cool yet hopeful air beckoning from beyond the windows. As she moved through her morning routine, Jasper weaved between her feet, a silent partner in the dance of dawn. Descending the stairs and entering her kitchen once again, she was greeted by the sight of the lemon drizzle cake she had brought home the night before. A simple pleasure for later, she mused, her mind slowly shifting gears from the tranquility of rest to the anticipation of the day's potential. Outside her door, Cedarwood Lane was stirring. The soothing hum of life beginning anew carried through the air as shopkeepers opened their doors. The clink of milk bottles signaled deliveries on doorsteps, and the distant laughter of children unfurled like a ribbon on the breeze. Amelia stepped out, the key turning in the lock with a familiar click, and took a moment to breathe in the crisp air. The world was awash with the hues of dawn, painting the sky in strokes of pink and orange that promised warmth. The streets of Cedarwood Lane welcomed her, the cobblestones a mosaic underfoot, as familiar as the lines on her own palms. On her way to the flower shop, she exchanged greetings with the other early risers. A nod here, a wave there, all part of the unspoken understanding among those who witnessed the world's quiet awakening. The baker, already at work for hours, offered her a knowing smile from his flour-dusted doorway, and the newspaper delivery boy tossed the morning's headlines onto stoops with practiced ease. The village was a tapestry of lives, each thread significant, each pattern unique. Amelia knew her place within it, and as she walked, she felt a deep sense of belonging, an unspoken connection to the pulse of Cedarwood Lane. As she approached Thistle and Bloom, the golden light of sunrise began to touch the shop's facade, its windows aglow with a warm invitation. Amelia unlocked the door, the familiar jingle a greeting to her as much as it was a herald of the day's commerce. She stepped inside and was enveloped by the tranquility she had left behind the night before. The shop was quiet, its air still laced with the scent of flowers and repose. Amelia moved to the counter where she had left the peony and found it there, as if waiting for her. Its petals had opened further, a bloom in the full splendor of its beauty, and in its unfolding, Amelia saw an echo of her own growth, a reflection of new beginnings. She placed the vase prominently on the main display, the peony a herald for the day's offerings. With the flowers as her witnesses, Amelia set about her morning preparations, watering her leafy charges, turning the sign to welcome visitors, and arranging the day's blooms with an artist's eye. Customers would soon be trickling in, each with their own story, their own needs for nature's bounty. Amelia was ready for them, her heart open, and her hands willing to craft beauty from the world she held within thistle and bloom. And in the quiet moments before the first door chime of the day, she allowed herself to wonder, to dream of the conversations yet to be had, of the reconnections yet to be made, and of the sweet simplicity of life in this small corner of the world, where every day promised the chance to nourish the soul with gentle words and the soft whisper of petals against skin. As the morning unfolded, the first rays of sun stretching to fill every corner of thistle and bloom, Amelia found herself caught in a delicate ballet of hellos and goodbyes, thank yous, and see you tomorrows. Each customer who entered through the sun-dappled door brought with them a piece of the world beyond, and left with a piece of peace within. By midday, the shop was a living canvas of motion and color. Vibrant tulips nodded their heads to passerby through the window, while the subtle scent of gardenias infused the air. Amelia's hands never stopped moving, her skillful fingers tying ribbons, snipping stems, and offering comfort through the universal language of flowers. The door chimed, and Amelia looked up to see a small girl, no more than 8, with a sunbeam of curls and the hesitant stance of one with a mission yet unsure of its execution. Behind her, a gentle nudge from a mother encouraging her child forward on shy feet. The girl approached the counter, a crumpled wad of bills clutched in her small fist. "May I please have a rose for my grandma?" she asked with all the solemnity of childhood. Her grandmother was in the hospital, she explained in earnest whispers, and she wanted to give her something to make her smile. Amelia's heart softened, and she chose the perfect rose, a crimson beauty that seemed to hold the warmth of 1,000 sunsets within its petals. She trimmed the thorn-laden stem and wrapped the flower carefully, refusing the offered payment with a gentle shake of her head. A rose, a girl's hopeful gaze, and a grandmother's undiscovered smile were worth far more than currency. As the afternoon waned, the parade of patrons thinned, and the whispering leaves outside signaled the approach of evening. Amelia tidied the shop, her movements thoughtful and serene as she considered the woven web of lives that intersected within these walls. The shop grew quiet once more, the final customers departing with nods of gratitude and arms cradling nature's treasures. In the lull, Amelia found her thoughts drifting back to Oliver, to the peony still holding quart on the counter, a regal reminder of chance encounters that can bloom into something more. It was then, amidst the calm of her floral sanctuary, that the door opened with the gentle ring of the bell yet again. Amelia looked up, her chest tightening with a mix of surprise and joy, to see Oliver reappear on the threshold, the setting sun casting a halo around him. "Forgot something," he said, holding up a small weathered notebook, the lines of its cover familiar to Amelia's sight. It was Jack's poetry notebook, accidentally left behind in the shuffle of the closing hour. But it was not the only reason for Oliver's return. The hesitant pause that followed told Amelia there was more, something unspoken that hung between them like the delicate scent of jasmine on a summer night's breeze. Oliver stepped closer, a seriousness in his gaze that spoke to truths too long left unsaid. "Amelia, I've been thinking since yesterday. About us, about everything that's happened, and everything that hasn't yet. I don't want to wait any longer to see where this story goes." His words felt like the missing piece to a puzzle Amelia hadn't realized she'd been putting together. A gentle courage bloomed within her, the willing vulnerability to reach for something that could be wonderful. "We don't have to wait," she said, her voice steady with the quiet strength of roots that hold fast to the earth, even as her heart soared like petals on the wind. The space between them closed with a few measured steps until they stood together, surrounded by the comforting witnesses of lilies and orchids, ferns and fronds. This was their moment, cultivated by years and blossoming in the soft light of thistle and bloom. As they finally embraced, the shop settled around them, cradling their connection in its mantle of serenity. They stood in the heart of a garden nurtured by Amelia's touch, her dreams, and now renewed by the promise of shared tomorrows. The day drew to a close with the quiet shuddering of thistle and bloom, the evening song of nearby birds, a gentle serenade to the end of one chapter and the beginning of the next. Amelia and Oliver stepped out into the dusk, hands entwined, their footsteps in harmony as they walked down Cedarwood Lane. With each step, the world around them seemed to sigh with contentment, the final brushstrokes of twilight sealing a day of simple joys and profound discoveries. In this village where the fabric of life wove a pattern of enduring warmth, Amelia understood with newfound clarity that the truest beauty lies not only in the bouquets we choose to share, but in the love we dare to nurture and the moments we choose to cherish. And so, under the gentle watch of the evening stars, Amelia and Oliver walked on, their hearts beating in tandem with the timeless rhythm of a world that finds its greatest joy in the whisper of leaves, the scent of soil after rain,